Are you a pitcher working on getting back to pitching in games and really just aren't sure what to expect throughout this process? I'm going to talk about today really the process of we go about setting expectations for returning to games as a pitcher. How do I know this? I'm Dr. Jeff Lewis. I'm the owner and physical therapist of Lewis Physical Therapy and Sports Rehab in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, and I've helped countless baseball players get back to throwing pain-free and get stronger. So again, I want to talk about today something that I do with every pitcher, really every baseball player, but especially every pitcher that comes through our door after an injury, and that is setting expectations. Not only setting expectations from the start of that process of how we're going to get them back to throwing, what their throwing is going to look like, but setting expectations for when they get back into game competition. Now, a lot of guys want to expect that when they get right back into games, they are going to be throwing exactly how they did before injury. Their velo is going to be right where it is, and everything's going to be just like it was before that. That does not always happen. Have I seen that happen? Absolutely. It usually varies a little bit. If a guy has only been shut down for, only shut down for throwing for 2 to 3 weeks, then a quick buildup, they're probably more likely to get back right into their pre-injury velo mechanics versus a guy that has been shut down for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, or even longer in cases like Tommy John or labrum repair. It takes time for those guys that have been out for a long time to work on getting back into their pre-injury groove for mechanics and velo. More often than not, what happens is, and this is really the checklist that I take guys through, if a guy gets back to pitch their first game back, so say they throw one inning, about 20 to 25 pitches, it's their first game back, they go out, they feel great, no pain, nothing, but their velo's not there. It's a process that I take guys through and they come back in. The first thing is making sure, say this is a elbow injury that we have just come back from. First thing we do is make sure that there is nothing wrong physically, whether it's the elbow, the arm, anything else. So we'll recheck range of motion. We'll redo shoulder strength testing for external internal rotation. We'll do some other tests that we feel are applicable at that time based on the injury that they're coming back from. And if all that checks out good, then that's a good thing for us. And it to an extent, it reassures the player, hey, listen, everything is good physically. And then the second part of that process is, okay, what is going on mechanically, throwing mechanics? We'll see, hey, do you have any video, anything like that we can compare from a post-injury, that first game back, compared to pre-injury? Now, what I will say is this is a situation, a scenario where I will absolutely bring a pitching coach into the discussion here. I'm a PT. I am not a pitching coach. Do I know the positions that guys need to get into in order to pitch at a foundational level? Absolutely. We have to know that, because if we don't know that, then we can't train them and rehab them appropriately to be able to support those positions. So again, we need to make sure they have the strength, stability, endurance to not only get into, but hold certain positions in posture. So we need to be able to realize, hey, is there something going on that maybe doesn't look right when we compare pre-injury compared to post-injury return to game competition, that film? We need to be able to recognize some subtle differences and then say, okay, listen, this is what I'm seeing. There might be something going on here. Let's get the pitching coach involved there, because they're going to have a much more of a trained eye at a deeper level too in terms of what might be going on to answer the question of, is there something going on mechanically where they're not moving as well as they should have? And that's just leaving velo on the table. And that happens a lot of times. It takes guys a good amount of time sometimes to get their mechanics back into sync. It's not uncommon for that to take part of that process. So again, that's just an expectation that we set from the get-go to really just make sure that we are keeping any frustrations, anxiety, fear around that first game back at bay, to let guys know it's okay if you are not right back at your pre-injury level of play at that first game back. It takes time for some guys. So if you have any questions about your return to throwing, your return to play process, specifically about getting back into games, go ahead and leave some questions below in the comments section. Like and subscribe to our channel. We put out a ton of content specifically dedicated to baseball player rehab and performance.